You wouldn't build a house without a foundation, so don't build your business without one. This is Mindset Monday, where we lay out the tools, frameworks, and mindset you need to scale your contracting or trading business today. All right. Welcome back to Mindset Monday. I'm your host, Gerritt Bake with Build Pro. We got these cool shirts here. I'm actually curious, what do you guys think of the shirts? You think we should give out some of these shirts? I just got some made in black. How many of you guys would like one of these in black? I'd love to ship some out for you. You guys know the drill. If you're here live, go ahead and drop your name and your business name. We would love to give you the good old shout out. Ground Fog gives us the friendly wave on this Monday. Man, what an interesting weekend it was, right? The last couple of weeks I've been sick, and so it's just been struggling to survive. But this last week, tail end of this last week and this weekend, I was finally starting to feel a little better. Probably like a lot of you guys, right? You guys have been dealing with this as well. There's some goes around every winter, right? But here's the crazy part, right? The crazy part is I love going out on weekends and being a consumer. And I don't mean just because my wife thinks I like to spend a lot of money on my credit card, which is true. I mean getting out and seeing how other people run businesses, right? And over the last couple of weeks, I've experienced everything from walking into a store and nobody coming up to me, to walking into, it was a client, shall remain nameless, walking into a client's place of business, someone at the front desk on their phone, didn't even look up to acknowledge me, like nothing. And I even finally said, "Hey, how's it going?" And they looked at me, they're like, "Hi." And they didn't say, "Can I help you? Can I direct you somewhere? Are you looking for someone?" Nothing, right? Two, going to a place, which I'll talk about this weekend, a granite supply house. And the guy, we literally walked in 10 minutes before closing on a Saturday afternoon. It's like they closed at 2. We showed up at 1:50. But walking in, and immediately the guy walks up to us, super friendly, exciting, asking our names, what we're here for, walking us back to the warehouse, telling us how things work, and then getting out of our way, which for us was like the best experience ever, right? And so I really want to dial in that and talk about that today, right? Which is your customer's experience with you. Now, you guys know the drill. If you're here live, go ahead and drop your name and your business name, and we'll give you the good old shout out. We got Robert with Ram Roofing out of Western Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show. All you East Coasters keep stealing all the snow, by the way. We're out here in Utah, and it's literally like the second or third driest winter ever. Like, we got some snow on the mountains, but it ain't that much snow, and it'll probably be 50 degrees today, which is really, really weird for the beginning of February. Hey, but here we are. So when we talk about a customer experience, right, what are we talking about? We're talking about the interaction that you or your employees have with a potential or an existing client, right? Now, excuse me. What I want you to do is think about it from their perspective, not your perspective, but their perspective, right? So when someone shows up at a potential client's house, someone from your business, so it's either you or somebody representing your company, how do they show up? Okay. One, do they have a vehicle that's clean? It may or may not be branded, but is it clean, right? Does it look presentable? Two, is there branding on the vehicle, right? I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of, well, how should I wrap my truck? What does my logo look like? And should I rebrand? Let's not talk about that right now. When someone shows up at your house, do they know the client, the potential client? Do they know it's you, right? When they walk to the door and interact with the potential client or the existing client, we're just going to call it potential client for now. When they walk up to the potential client, are they wearing things that say who they are and who they represent, right? I wear my Build Pro stuff everywhere. Why? Because I want people to know who I am and what I do, right? They can connect those dots, okay? Now, when they interact with this potential client, how are they interacting with them, right? A lot of people like to assume that people know how to have a conversation. People know how to interact. People know how to overcome objections. People know how to smile, right? And the problem is that most people don't. Most people don't, right? And so that might be you that I'm talking to, by the way. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying most people don't. When you shake somebody's hand, it should be a firm handshake, not a not a fish handshake. Okay. You should be looking at them in the eyes. You should be addressing them by name, right? All of these things that, again, we may or may not know, but we need to know in order for us to be able to take that initial interaction and immediately elevate us, right? They're asking the question in their mind, why would I want to do business with this person? So let's give them a reason to do business with us, right? You haven't even gotten to price. You haven't even gotten to options. It's the initial interaction with your potential client, right? So I'm going to go back to my experience this weekend. We show up 10 minutes before closing. This guy's name is John. John could have said, hey, I'm sorry, we're closing in 10 minutes. We don't have time to show you, blah, blah, whatever. Nope. He got up from behind his desk, walked out to where we were, introduced himself, shook our hands, right? So right away, what am I thinking? Not about John necessarily, but about this company. I'm thinking that this company really knows how to train their people. I'm thinking that this company has employees that care about people, right? That's what I'm thinking initially. Then he says, hey, have you been here before? No, we haven't been here before. Great. What are you looking for? Right? In other words, as a potential client, what do I want? And it was very simple. Hey, we're looking for some quartz tops, white with, some color patterns. He's like, great. Do you know what your price point is? No, we don't. He's like, awesome. So he walks us back to the warehouse and he says, here they are, right? And he opens the door and it was like the moment, right? Just granite and quartz slabs as far as the eye could see in both directions, right? This massive warehouse. So we walk in and you would think like it's an overwhelming thing, which it was, until he's like, okay, cool. Let me show you. We have stickers on all these different types of slabs. Let me show you what the stickers mean. There's the name, okay, of the product. And then there's a rating on that product. It's 1 through 6. Okay. 1 is the cheapest. 6 is the most expensive. Any questions? No, it makes sense. Great. You can walk down here. You can walk over here. Please don't go over here. Awesome. So he then says, if you have any questions, let me know, and leaves us, which, by the way, I don't care if I'm buying a car or I'm buying a couch or I'm buying granite or quartz. Like, I like when people let me be. Okay. Interact with me. Give me what I need. Let me be. Sure, come back in a little bit and check on me, but let me be. Okay. So then my wife and I proceed to walk up and down these aisles and we pick 4, right? So then we go up front and we talk to John again. Great. Did you find anything you liked? Yes, we did. Which ones? These. Awesome. So the way that we work here, and this is a wholesaler, right? The way that we work here is we work with your installer. So what we can do is either we can communicate with them or you can communicate with them, let them know what you liked. And then, kind of go from there. I'm like, oh, best experience ever, right? So why am I telling you about my experience looking at quartz tops in my kitchen, in my personal house? I'm telling you this because I want you to know what your customers are thinking, what they're experiencing from their perspective, right? If I was to turn around and look at this from John's perspective, I'm thinking, man, I need to make some sales, right? That's what I'm thinking. But the way that he went about that, I can tell you, we've been to 3 or 4. We've been to Floor and Decor and Doll Tile and, these other places. And then we went to this place, and that's the place we're going to get our slabs from. Why? Because that's the place that treated us the way we wanted to be treated. So let's go back to you and let's talk about you. If I was to walk into your place of business, or if you were to come to my house or my job site or whatever the thing is, what would my interaction be with you? What would it be? Do your people know what to say? Do they know how to act? Do they know how to dress? Right? There's so many variables that go into this. And when I see contractors that struggle with sales, they don't understand the basics. Okay. And the basics are not, what does my brand look like? Like, this is my brand, right? But if I put this up on a screen and said, does anybody know what my brand looks like? Probably not. So is it important? Yes, but not important to the level that you think it would be important. But it is important. Okay. People can connect. This is the name of the company. You can kind of see here. BuildPro. Great. BuildPro. There's a logo. There's a logo, right? So we're jiving there. So if you were to go to a potential client's house, okay, would they know it's you that showed up? Or do you just show up with your boots, your dirty jeans, and you got your t-shirt on, and you just assume that somebody knows who you are, right? You got a ball cap on, but the ball cap is some supply house that you use. I don't know. What is it for you, right? We're currently working on a commercial project up in Park City, and this has been the commercial project from hell. Some of you guys have heard me talk about this. We've been on it since June of last year, right? And so we're getting to the point now where it's a tail end of things, paint and some drywall repairs. Well, I can tell you from experience, right, that there have been subcontractors that have shown up on the job site that I'm like, who are you? Like, are you a bum? Like, how did you get into this building type thing? And then there's others that I know exactly who they are, right? And there's people that I enjoy interacting with, and there's people that I don't enjoy interacting with. And it's all based on what? It's all based on that initial interaction. So my question to you is, if you were to rate your business right now on a scale, let's call it 1 to 5. Scale of 1 to 5. If you were to rate your business, like we show up, we're presenting ourselves well, we're dressed well, we speak well, right? We understand our product and our services. If we were to just talk about that, how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, right? Would you be a 5, like we're 5-star, like people know who we are as soon as we roll up? People enjoy interacting with us because of the way that we train our people to do that. Like, are you that type of business, or are you the business that people are like, who are you? Right? Which is the worst thing that can happen, is them asking who you are, because that means you mean absolutely nothing to them. So what kind of a business are you representing? Right? People talk a lot about scaling, and we talk a lot about growing your business here. But one of the most important things that we talk about, okay, is that growth doesn't happen by accident. A lot of you want to grow your business right now, and congratulations, right? Like, that's a good thing. It's a big deal, but you don't understand the framework of growth. Everything that you do at a certain point in your business, everything that you do is going to center around people, around process and profit, and around a plan, like those things. And so if you think about it from that perspective, it changes what you do and how you do it. I don't want to one-off a job. I don't want to one-off a sales call. I don't want to one-off an estimate. I don't want to one-off a change order process. I don't want to one-off anything, right? And neither should you. Business is about creating something that's duplicatable, because what's duplicatable is scalable. Let me give you another example. There's a contractor we work with. This last year, they did $5 million. That's pretty good, right? There's a bigger problem though, because when you look underneath the hood, profitability is below 5%. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not in business to make money. I'm in business to keep money. And if you're doing $5 million and on a 5% profit, like, that is not an attractive business to me. So when we went back and we started looking at the data, okay, the numbers, we had to pay attention to a couple different things. The first one is, what's happening to all this money? Okay. Guess what we realized? Jobs were not being done on time. Okay. Subcontractors were being paid earlier than they were supposed to, because the contracts are paid when paid. Okay. And change orders were not being documented and applied accurately. Okay. So you have 3 reasons why this business is below 5% on their profit margin. Now, how many of you guys, if I was to ask you, do you suffer from those 3 things, would say, yep, me too? Like, how many of you? And so when we look at this, we say, sure, I want to grow a business, but I don't understand what growing means. I show up to a networking meeting, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm Johnny and I do remodeling. And you're literally desperate for someone to come up to you and go, hey, I have somebody that needs remodeling, or I need remodeling, right? And you're like sitting there antsy. It's because you don't control anything, because you don't understand what marketing is, right? Some of you guys get super frustrated at your people because they can't seem to do the same job, the same every single time, without understanding that you're not giving them a process to follow. And so they're just following what they think they should follow, or they're guessing. Does that make sense? And so ultimately, the problem isn't in your people. The problem is in your process. The problem is in your system. The problem is in the way that you do things. So when we look at your business, okay, this is less about the one-off job or the one-off opportunity or the one-off, whatever we want to call it. And this is more about how do we do the same thing? People talk a lot about the standard, right? And I've got this on my wristband here, right? It says raise the standard. The reason I have this on my wristband is a constant reminder that my job is not to do one thing one way and then the next time do it some other way. My job is to create a standard and constantly look at how do we raise our standard. Literally, we are transitioning to a new CRM because our standard for communication with our subs, our standard for communication with our clients, our standard for our change orders, so on and so forth is elevated. And so we're moving to that next level. Right now, in fact, we had a meeting this morning with my internal team, with BuildPro, with our consulting business for contractors. We talked about how to elevate or raise the standard when it came to our onboarding process. Like right now, we have an onboarding process. It involves a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces. It's complicated, okay? So we're like, how do we simplify this thing down? How do we make it duplicatable so we can onboard 10, 20, 30 people and it's not overwhelming for us? So my challenge for each of you is to look at your business, okay, from that perspective that I talked about earlier, which is if I'm looking from the lens of a potential client, how are they perceiving me? And then how do I make this duplicatable across the board? Like I've literally seen companies that do $10 million a year and their guys still wear whatever t-shirt they want to wear. Hey, that's great, but that's not duplicatable. I've seen change orders that happen over handshakes. They don't get paid. I've seen companies trying to grow and they can't get out of their own way. So my challenge to each of you is figure out what your standard needs to be. And today, let's just make that standard the initial interaction that a potential client has with me or with my business. Somebody asked, what industry are you in? We do commercial TI projects. That's what we work on. So my invitation for you is, okay, what does that initial interaction look like? Okay. And how do I, before we even elevate it, maybe I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Maybe right now, all we have to talk about is how do we create something that's duplicatable? Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just complicating this thing. I don't know. But let's simplify it. Okay. If you don't have a standard way or a duplicatable way of having that initial interaction with a client, let's just start there. Let's just start there, right? What does the greeting look like? How are they supposed to dress? What does the vehicle need to look like? Let's just start there. What you're going to notice is there's going to be a change. There's going to be a change in your people, in you. There's going to be a change in your potential clients, and there's going to be an increase in the amount of jobs that you close. Why? Because of the standard that you're setting. That's it. Pick one thing. That's this week's thing. That's it. Do your thing. And your thing is, how do I make it so that we all, my entire company, show up the same way, present ourselves the same way, and get that client excited about wanting to work with us the same way? All right. That's all I got for you guys. If you guys are interested in learning more, we have a free online community. Yes, it does have a paid version, but for free, you get a lot of cool value. It's called Build Pro. We'd love to give you guys some information on that. In fact, I'm going to drop it here in the chat. See if I can figure this thing out. Dun, dun, dun. Invite. Copy. All right. I'm going to drop this in the chat here. And anybody who'd like to join us, we'd love to have you. We've got our entire training library on there that'll show you exactly what it takes to build a duplicatable and scalable contracting business. We have some of our training vault, if you will. We have our entire training library inside of there as well. We'd love to have you join us and be a partner with you as you continue to grow your contracting business. All right. Enough of me talking. You guys know what time it is. It's time for you guys to get after it. 3, 2, 1. Off you go.